Tuesday morning on Sunrise, our big story, of course, is the bushfire crisis. Today will be as bad as it gets in Sydney. The rating is catastrophic.
At 8 a.m, the situation is dire in New South Wales. The Premier has declared a 7-day state of emergency, and the fire chief is predicting the most dangerous bushfire week this nation has ever seen. The city is on edge and almost in lockdown as we go to air. Sydney has a catastrophic fire danger for the first time ever. The Greater Hunter is also rated catastrophic, as well as the Illawarra to the south of Sydney. We have special coverage this morning.
The biggest threat is to the suburbs bordering bushland areas such as Hornsby, Penrith, Camden, Campbelltown and the Sutherland Shire. The fear is fires could start in those areas. Now, Nat is live from the Singleton Army Barracks. That's the hub for firefighters to be deployed today across the Hunter and Sydney. Morning to you again, Nat.
Hello, Sam and Koshi. Our fireys know no borders. They've left their states to help their mates in New South Wales. More than 3,000 firefighters are on the ground. The Army now has formal authority to help. 604 schools and colleges have been closed in New South Wales, and a total fire ban stretches right across the state and into Queensland. They're in trouble too, but conditions will worsen for them tomorrow. There are 54 fires still burning across New South Wales, 26 uncontained. Residents in the danger zone are being advised to prepare to leave their homes and, importantly, do it early with their families before it's too late. This is the first time in 10 years we have been warned of catastrophic conditions. It is the highest possible level of bushfire danger. Fires under these conditions are hard to suppress, and homes will burn and people may die. For homeowners, it means there is no stay and defend option. A bushfire disaster that's caused so much devastation. Now bearing down on Australia's most populated city. Sydney surrounded, an eerie ring of fire highlighting the most at-risk areas.
I can't thank enough our volunteers and personnel that have been on the ground, not just in terms of containing the fires and the fire lines, but also in supporting community efforts in relation to evacuations, and also supporting communities who've already been through the tragedy of the fires we've seen in the last few days.
Densely populated suburbs are in the firing line. The Army is on alert, given the green light to respond to a situation that's been called as bad as it gets. Hundreds of schools and TAFEs are closed. Residents warned to prepare for a potentially lethal combination of scorching temperatures and gale force winds. Those on the state's mid-north coast are not out of danger either. An extreme threat for people who've already lost everything. This Rainbow Flat family learning their home was destroyed while watching the news.
It was just devastating. It just felt like it was a war zone, you know. It couldn't have been ours, but it was. It's our home.
But among the ashes, a safe still intact, holding precious heirlooms.
It's just amazing, you know, they're not damaged at all.
Many were lucky to make it out alive. Queensland is also feeling the loss. Almost a dozen homes gone as exhausted crews battle to gain the upper hand before conditions worsen. In South Australia, power is being restored after a major blaze threatened Port Lincoln, a widespread crisis with no end in sight. We have reporters across 3 states this morning bringing us the latest developments from this unfolding emergency. 7 News reporter Sam Brett is at the RFS Control Centre at the foot of the Blue Mountains near Penrith. Residents are being told to prepare for the worst, Sam.
They are, Nat. There really is an ominous feeling here in Penrith this morning. The RFS, of course, telling the residents to brace for Tuesday. Now that it is here, the RFS is saying that these conditions are going to be much worse than predicted. Of course, we've got this lethal combination of these very high temperatures. We're expecting 38 degrees here in Sydney's west, and then those wind gusts of between 80 and 90 kilometres an hour. And then, of course, there's very, very dry land as a result of the drought. So I'm here at Regent Field. This is really going to be the hub for this area of Sydney today. Dozens of firefighters have stayed here overnight. They're on standby. We've also seen dozens of trucks arrive here this morning, more volunteers and more firefighters. You can see behind me here, I'm at the foot of the Blue Mountains. This is one of the areas that is of most at risk in Sydney. You may remember back in 2013, during those devastating bushfires, 200 homes were burnt down here in the Blue Mountains. So the advice for these residents is to leave their homes, not to be anywhere near those bushfire-prone areas today, and to remain vigilant. Nat?
Yeah, nearly 40 degrees and strong winds forecast. Sunrise reporter David Woywood is at the Lower Hunter Fire Control Centre in Maitland. Authorities are being given every available resource to fight this threat, David.
Yes, that's right, Nat. Everything is being thrown into today, no doubt about that. Of course, New South Wales is currently in the grips of that state of emergency. It was declared yesterday by the Premier, Gladys Berejiklian, and it will run for 7 days. It was an order made in response to a request from fire chiefs for additional resources and power in the face of these catastrophic bushfire conditions. We know that we have the Army now on standby. They are poised and ready to lend assistance if and when required. And of course, other resources have already been deployed right across New South Wales as well. Now, the last time the state was in a state of emergency was 6 years ago during those Blue Mountain bushfires. And once again, fire crews have been given all authority and power in the face of these horrific conditions today, Nat.
7 News reporter Brian Seymour is at Taree in the fire zone on the mid-north coast of New South Wales. Are crews any closer to containing that fire?
Oh, no, Nat. The Hillville Fire south here. In fact, I've just checked. There are now 11 fires burning out of control. We knew it was catastrophic. This looks like it's going to be very bad. These fires are stretching up around in a ring around Port Macquarie. We're down here in Taree. When these winds pick up, the inversion layer has just lifted. The winds are about to kick in. That's what's driving these catastrophic conditions. It's hard to see everyone remaining safe and out of the path of these fires given the conditions. In fact, many people are going to find themselves in the direct path. People have begun hanging out SWS signs indicating a static water supply, a pool or a tank, so fire crews can quickly tap in and fight these blazes as and where they need to. Now, people are being told your homes are not designed to withstand these types of fires. Get on the Fires Near Me app. If a fire is approaching or you're near one, you need to leave. You need to get out now. You will not defend your home. And with 11 fires burning out of control, and it's really starting now to warm up, that sun is beating down on my back. It's the first time I've really felt it. It's going to be a scorcher. The predictions are real. The threat is real. You need to leave.
7 News reporter Jess Ridley is at RFS headquarters. How are authorities planning to tackle today, Jess?
Well, now, Premier Gladys Berejiklian has been here for a briefing with police and emergency services as well, just discussing how they are intending to tackle today. They're throwing all resources at this. They've called in favours from other states as well. 3,000 firefighters either on the ground or just on standby for whatever today brings. But fire officials say they have not seen a fire scenario quite like this in 40 years, likening it to that of Black Saturday back in 2009 in Victoria, where so many lives were lost.
We plan for these sorts of days, but we always hope they never come. We are planned, we are escalated to a heightened level of standby and readiness in anticipation of anything that might break out today.
Now, the real concern is later this afternoon with gale force winds up to 80 kilometres an hour expected to kick in. The outskirts of Sydney are a real concern, highly populated areas. So we're again being reminded that it's now in law that you must obey whatever fire authorities say. If they say time to get out, it's time to go. Nat.
As the Minister said, no ifs, no buts on that one. Sunrise correspondent Bianca Stone is at the Forward Command Post near Yeppoon. Bianca, 12 homes have now been confirmed lost in Queensland.
That's right, Nat. A dozen homes across Queensland, the majority of them here where we are, west of Yeppoon in the Cobra Ball area. 11 homes lost. Now, we're not just talking bricks and mortar. These are people's possessions, their photos, their clothes, everything gone up in those blazes. Businesses have also been destroyed. A pineapple farm, a lychee farm. People's sheds have also gone up. Of course, inside those sheds, very valuable possessions, motorbikes, tractors, things like that. Right now, this fire is still burning out of control. There is a watch and act warning that is in place. Residents are again being told to prepare to leave. Many have spent another night in an evacuation centre. Right now, there are about 100 firefighters out there on that fire ground trying to contain this blaze. It's very warm here. Conditions are getting worse again today. They took us out there to that fire ground yesterday to go through exactly what they were seeing out there. Very steep terrain. One of the firefighters just said to me, "What day is it?" That just goes to show the kind of stress that they are under right now. Nat?
7 News reporter Tamara Bowes at QFES headquarters. What's the warning there?
Well, Nat, the air quality still remains very poor here in Queensland, and that's due to the winds that are fanning that smoke from the New South Wales fires into Queensland. The levels dropped dangerously low yesterday as that thick smoke blanketed the city here in Brisbane. Areas that were also affected were Ipswich and also down in regions, parts of the Gold Coast. Now, that thick smoke haze may have cleared this morning, but Queensland Health warns that the dangers are still very real and present. Pollution levels are still quite high. Now, this morning, currently 55 fires continue to burn right across Queensland. There are still 3 main areas of concern. That one up near Yeppoon, where Bianca is, as well as Rosevale, west of Ipswich, and Clumber near Boona. They all remain at watch and act levels. Now, reinforcements are on the way to help lend a hand as Queensland is still staring down the barrel of its worst day. That will come tomorrow when those conditions continue to deteriorate. We're being told that a strike force from New Zealand is being assembled. They'll descend in Queensland and then they'll be sent to the Sunshine Coast where they'll be stationed. Nat?
OK, 7 News reporter Mark Mooney is watching the fires in Port Lincoln, South Australia. What's the latest?
Well, Nat, some much needed good news here in Port Lincoln. We've just hearing in the past few minutes that this fire now here in Port Lincoln is officially contained. Remarkable considering how things were looking here yesterday afternoon. It was at the peak of those catastrophic fire conditions that this blaze broke out in an area called Duck Ponds, about 2 kilometres west of Port Lincoln. Very strong winds and high temperatures are fueling this fire and pushing it right towards Port Lincoln. Authorities at one stage were so worried about those conditions that they cut power to the entire city of Port Lincoln. Thousands of residents were plunged into darkness. They have since been brought back online. Much cooler conditions here today. They're still a little windy, but down around 13 degrees at the moment. We're only getting to 18 degrees. So crews have spent the night mopping up. As I say, this fire is now contained. We have a rapid damage assessment team from Adelaide on the ground here now. They'll head out to that fire ground in the next half an hour to take a look at the properties affected by this blaze.